Hi, and welcome everybody to this quarter's OCL Quarterly Showcase. This is that quarterly forum where we're updating you on all the recent OCL happenings, our achievements, and much more. And we're also aiming to incorporate more implementers of Open Concept Lab to showcase their great work and to talk about future directions where OCL can fit or grow into. And we've actually got the Kenya National Health Terminology Service team here to go with us to do that today. So I'm going to give some developments. We're going to do some feature showcases and just talk about things that we've achieved in the past quarter. And then we'll look ahead to Q3 of 2024, and then we'll pass it off to that team to talk about their work, and we can have a group discussion about that. Would anybody like to say anything or before we go ahead and get started? All right, then we can go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for being here. And let me just go through a few things real quick, then we'll get into some feature showcases. So just to give you a summary of some of the tickets that we've been completing, we've been doing a lot of focus, as per usual, on the terminology service and API. There's been a lot of work going into this work here in particular. You can see that here reflected in the points. We've also been doing a good amount of work in OCL version 2, the term browser that many of you know and love. And we've been, fixing it.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Simon. Do you want to say hi? All right, no worries. Welcome. And feel free to say hi in the chat. There's a lot of good discussion going on there. So we've been working on OCL version 2, of course, trying to make sure that we've got bug fixes and making sure that things are working for people. But we've also been putting a good amount of work into OCL version 3 up here, which is something that is upcoming, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And in addition, we've got some bug fixes in here, and there's certainly a lot of work that is not being captured in tickets as much. This is V3 planning and design work. And also just want to note there's a lot of V3 development and tickets in process. They haven't been closed out quite yet. And so our the actual work done is even more than what's reflected here. So there's also some bug fixes that you can expect to that have been implemented in the term browser, just to give you a heads up about these. In the term browser itself, the collection version page is now loading concepts as expected. There was a issue with that was pointed out to us. We were able to get that fixed. Search inputs that were too long are now unrestricted in the term browser. You can, it doesn't hurt to put in too long of search inputs, and concepts with the same IDs but from different sources are no longer conflicting. This is for collections in particular, that if you have a collection that has two concepts from different sources but they have the same ID, OCL would get a little confused sometimes. So we've been able to get that fixed, and that shouldn't be a problem anymore. We've also got some API fixes that were done kind of in the background. CSV bulk importing is now supporting canonical URLs. Fire value sets are now importing correctly, even if there's an unrecognized filter schema. So if you try to import a value set, but there was something that OCL didn't know what to do with, OCL now can allow that to bypass, even if it doesn't recognize what to do with it. And also, the API returns the right Fire URL in the base API endpoint, so it's easier to access their Fire service. And now I want to do a quick feature showcase, and we've actually got a couple of us who are going to talk through this today. I'll go through a couple of things in the user interface real quick, and then I'll be throwing over to Sunny and to Rafal shortly after. So I'll try to go quick through this because I know they have a lot of good stuff in here. One thing that I wanted to point out in particular is our add to collection feature is working better than it previously had. There's more better information and better feature in there. And let me just show you what I mean there. Here's our collection that we're going to add concepts into. I want to point out that there's one concept that I made myself. I put in here, it is called the direct Coombs test. This is the concept that we are intentionally going to have a conflict with a CL concept. So let me jump over to CL real quick, and here is the lab set for Coombs test. And within this set is one concept called direct Coombs test, along with its indirect version. This test is what I'm expecting to conflict here. And I just want to show that this information is better in the term browser to give you more information about that. I'm going to add that to our cascade test collection. I'm going to apply the OpenMRS compatible cascade. There is one thing I want to point out in here, just that we do have a different checkbox than you might be previously used to. This used to say transform to static references, which for those of you who do collection management, it came with those little version numbers at the end of the reference, which sometimes froze your collections and made it so that you wouldn't get updates if, for example, CL made updates to the vocabulary. In this case, we've now changed it, and I'll show you what that means in a second. But first, I want to just point out that we have better information with this, with the results page here. So I'm going to add this cascaded concept to the collection, and I'm expecting there to be an orange conflict. And here's that right there. It's one reference could not be added. Previously, this would just say, hey, their preferred name needs to be unique, but it wouldn't tell you what was wrong. This now gives you an example where it says it's conflicting with concept 22, direct Coombs test, essentially. So this is where OCL tells you that, hey, here is where you need to be looking to figure out why your reference didn't get added. For me, that's great. That means that I could actually go ahead and add this again. I'm going to not, I'm going to keep this box checked this time, and you will be able to see that I am adding multiple references. Here we go. You can see there were 37 that were successfully added, and you could look through these if you want to. And then you can see the one specific one that did not get added, and you can see why. So then if you went back to your collection, you'd be able to see that all that content made it in, with the exception of the direct Coombs test. So OCL just helped us to filter that stuff out. It's okay. And then one other thing I wanted to, I
Joe,
will.
before you leave there, could
Oh,
you
sure,
just
yeah.
look at the Coombs test set?
This one here?
Yep.
Yep.
So it still shows there as the direct Coombs test with the concept 159607.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, so in other words, it allowed you to bring in essentially a map to the CL concept, but not the one in the set itself.
Yes, that is right. We haven't updated the add to collection cascade to basically go through the same logic that our cloning does. If you were to clone, then OCL has some smart stuff going on in the background to switch out these mappings with what's in your collection. That hasn't been incorporated into add to collection yet. So I would right now have to make sure I remove this mapping and create my own mapping to my own direct concepts. It's not fun, but that is one of the downsides to managing your own content rather than using somebody else's curated content. But thank you, Andy. That is important.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
All right.
Tim, I think you might want to mute.
Yes.
So one other thing I wanted to show real quick, this will be less of a demonstration, but more of just an ongoing project that we had some minimal success on. For people who are generating Fire implementation guides, one thing we've been trying to make sure is that OCL can be that terminology server that stores things like your value sets, your code systems, concept maps, things like that. One thing that I just wanted to show is that I've had a success where I loaded content from a Fire implementation guide into OCL, and then I've actually regenerated this implementation guide using those OCL code systems. And so I just want to show an example here. I'll go to this code system for data elements. You can always tell when it comes out of OCL because it has these OCL properties: concept class, data type, and inactive. So essentially, I had put these concepts into OCL. This is where they're living. I forget which one that I actually made, which one I just clicked on, but I'll just click on one as an example. You can host your concepts in here and then actually get them back out in the Fire format. And I put them into a resources folder where it contains all of these OCL formatted code systems, value sets, and concept maps, which then get used to generate the implementation guide. So This is something that is still kind of an early project. We want to be able to do more with this, but at the very least, the content that is coming out of OCL is in good enough shape that it can be used in Fire implementation guides directly. So just something fun people might want to do. Happy to talk about that more later. All right, Sunny, can I go ahead and throw it over to you for the next feature?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Joe. Let me share my screen. Right. So the next thing on the showcase is changelog. So we've been doing a lot of work with generating diffs between two repos or two repo versions that are published or rather released on OCL. So this is one of those attempts. As you can see, there is a version 1 of CL dictionary, which is an older version. So this is your from version, and the other one is the destination version. So we're trying to generate diff between what changed, what was new, what was retired, so things like that, both in terms of codes and mappings. So you can see the endpoint is also sources, changelog, and verbosity level 1. There are different verbosity levels. One that just gives you numbers, the other that gives you more expanded diff. So once you do that, it will queue up a job, and you can get the result of the job. The result looks like this. So it has two parts. One is the meta part, and the other is concepts and mappings part. Meta part is just the numbers. For example, version 1 had total of this number of concepts and mappings. Similarly, version 2 had some other numbers. The diff between these two versions is how many were new between these two versions, any uh, removed as in hard delete, which we don't support yet. So it's mostly 0. Change total. So we divide change into different categories. Uh, our retired is also change. Any major changes or minor changes. Major changes and minor changes has its own meaning. Minor is major is when the essence of the code has changed, and minor means any not so important information that has changed, but still a change. Similarly, mappings, there were 655 new mappings between these two versions, and 26 total change, which was minor. Uh, so this is the meta description. But if you want to go more in details, you can look at the diff in different categories, same categories that you saw in the numbers format. New, change retired, change major, minor, and just mappings. Uh, so let me take a look at the new one. So this code with the display name, computed tomography of it. There were few mappings. This is a new code added in the later version, and these were the new mappings added as part of this. Similarly, you can look at other new codes added, and you can also look at anything that is majorly changed. Um, so, like for example, this one was a major change, and there were also two new mappings against this code. So this gives you an idea of uh, uh, things, differences between new and older version. You can also generate this changelog against a working copy of seal or your repository against an older version if you choose to. Uh, yeah, uh, that's what I had. Thanks. Can I pass it to you, Rafal, for next?
Danny, could you just quickly show us what's under the minor change, what a minor change looks like?
Yeah, so it doesn't tell you what changed actually, but it just tells you these are the codes that changed with some minor things. For if you want to compare the two versions of codes, you can go to term browser and select the two versions and do a separate diff
Got it.
comparison.
Okay.
But it tells you that there is a some change which is not major, and there is a new mapping that was added as well. Right. Rafal, can I pass it to you now?
Yeah, thanks, Sunny. Hello, everyone. So I'm going to present two features. One is the file validator, and the other will be NPM imports. So some of you may already know that there is this service at validator.file.org, where you can paste in any file resource and validate it against a terminology service and also a file schema to check if it's compliant or not. As part of the work of enabling support for Fire XML format in OCL API, we deployed the service under Fire validator that openconcept.org, and in this case it's the QA environment, so it includes QA. And it basically works the same way as the service provided by the Fire community, where you can just paste in the resource and hit the validate button and wait for the results. This is not yet integrated into the Fire API in OCL, but the plan is to have this available from the OCL API, and as well as to support the import process and validate resources that are imported into OCL. But for now, it's just a separate service that we also use under the hood to translate JSON resources to XML format and vice versa. And the other feature that I also wanted to showcase is the NPM imports. So some of you may know this Fire package registry, where you can basically search for Fire NPM packages and download them to your local. And we wanted to, so this is basically how you would download it with the NPM tool to your local. And this just comes as a package which contains different file resources and also specifies the dependencies that are needed to fully make use of this package. And as part of the, so if you want this content to be in OCL, you would just now, so it's just a preview feature. We are soon going to deploy it to our environments, but it's not yet there. So if you log in and go to bulk importer, you can see here that there is this addition npm package import, where you can specify where you want this package to land. You can either select your user or any org that you have permissions to write to. And then you need package name and package version that you want to import, which you can get from this Fire registry. You just copy the name and the version, and let me just quickly do that. And you hit the upload button, the task is being queued, and You can see that it's progressing. There was some issue with the task, so it failed. Um, at this point, I haven't added any results into the UI. So there's also the API, which you can use to query. And this will be integrated into UI as well. But in here, you can see the result of what they run. So actually, it doesn't specify why it failed in here, whereas it should. I need to check that. I haven't tried with this particular package, so it might be something that I need to still resolve. Yeah, I made some change in code that broke the feature. Okay. So yeah, something that still needs to be polished out and prepared by the idea is that once this is imported, you also get content not only from the package that you specify, but all the dependencies. So this means that a single import may include thousands of resources, and in order to support that workflow of importing in bin packages, we needed to rework the bulk import tool to be more memory efficient under the hood, because we were hitting some memory limits with bigger bulk imports. And with this in place, we should be basically able to support any size, any import size. It's just a matter of how long it takes, how long you are willing to wait for the import to complete. Yeah, so that's pretty much all what I wanted to share. Back to you, Joe. Thanks.
Rafal, maybe I can add a comment on that. Thank you for taking the risk of doing a live demo. But so one of the things that Rafal showed that it is worth calling out is, so some of our colleagues from Brazil, I'm sure, will appreciate this. And so one of the first steps when you're starting to set up a server would be, where do you get all of your content? There are lots of value sets and code systems that have already been published that are hosted in HL7's FHIR registry. That in those packages contain, you know, the value sets that and codes that you would be building a lot of your content on. And so rather than what can be a really painful manual process to load all of that content, you'll now be able to load those packages directly. And so this feature, we wanted to get people to start thinking about it, even though it's not quite in production, because the OCL team is going to load a lot of these packages on behalf of the community into the OCL online server and maintain them, which is different than some of the other content, because we want to make sure there's like a starter set of content available for everybody, and that you don't need to do that work on your own unless you're hosting your own service. And so what Rafal showed would then be the process for that you would follow if you're hosting your own server. So thanks again, Rafal. Over to you, Joe.
Awesome. Yeah, much appreciated. Really looking forward to seeing all the cool stuff we're going to be doing with this. So, okay, I've got some quick updates that I'm going to speed through just a little bit. I want to offer more time for our Kenyan colleagues, along with just the whole community, because we've got a good group today. So I'll try to go pretty quickly through these. One OCL online update that we have this time is, of course, the latest CL release. This release includes QA work to include multiple same-as SNOMED maps. As always, getting new concepts for countries and implementations such as Nigeria, PIH, and Kenya. We're still seeing more ATC drug codes being added to medications, along with ICD-11 codes, and also doing some work to align with the WHO measles smart guideline work. So a lot of good work coming up with that. And as always, these CL release notes are being put on OpenMRS Talk. Those release notes might get a bit more automated thanks to Sunny's demonstration that he gives. So Andy will, of course, chat about that later. I also want to get into some community highlights, some cool work going on around the community. And one thing in particular, we've actually got some of our Brazilian colleagues on here today who we had the pleasure of co-presenting with at the HL7 work group meeting in Dallas. Essentially, Brazil got the chance to showcase their international patient summary use case. It was very cool, very well appreciated. We got to talk with the terminology group in particular about this, just to show them what we're about, what our use cases are about, and things like that. I did want to actually paste their publication that recently came out, and I just put that into the chat if you want to learn more about their work. One other thing, and I don't think she's on the call today, but I did want to welcome our first OCL fellow, which is Julia Fuller. Julia is currently pursuing her Master of Public Health at Johns Hopkins University, and she enjoys trail running, sailing, skiing, cooking, and music. She is working as our fellow to work on the National Health Data Dictionary Toolkit. And some things you can hope to see out of that are structure for the NHDD toolkit, and enhanced conceptual framework that includes use cases, more value propositions, and things like that. And also hopefully some toolkit components. So she's been doing a great job at helping to bring together ideas, and wouldn't be surprised if some people on this call start hearing from her pretty soon. So one other quick thing is just looking ahead to Q3 and some of the things that we will be working on. First thing, OCL version 3 that I wanted to call out is that we are rounding up the consumer persona work, which means we are finishing this first round of development, and you can expect to see some user acceptance testing and then OCL v3 launch in beta. Just as a reminder, the consumer means that it's browsing and searching. It's a lot of viewing of content, being able to get it as file and exporting it, things like that. You're often working with individual codes and repos. We're not quite yet doing sets of repos yet, but you can stay tuned for that. The next persona that we're kicking off is the code system author, which is we'll start by defining our requirements in epics. Many of them we already have in mind and ready to go. We just have to put them into more official documentation and tickets. Then we'll be seeing some designs and some development based off that. The code system author is basically authoring any set of FHIR compatible codes. And this will require us to align FHIR's repository types with OCL's repository types, and also some features that are related to defining and configuring properties for your code system. We'll talk more about that when we get to it, but just want to give you a heads up where we're heading with OCL version 3. Then just a quick updates on our projects that are coming up. We've got the WHO Smart Terminology Services. We continue to work with the Smart Guidelines community, and that project has been going on for a couple of quarters now. And we are, I believe, on the tail end of the project, and you should hope to see some terminology authoring workflows coming out of it, along with a lot of the work that Rafal actually got to show earlier in this call. Additionally, the implementations and national health data dictionaries, we talked about our fellow and how we are pushing forward that work. We're also hoping to continue to support FHIR implementations that are using OCL as their terminology server, and supporting NHDD implementations like Kenya's National Health Terminology Service. And I will pass it over to them pretty soon. As always, stay connected with us on OCL. We've got our LinkedIn that you can follow. We've been putting a lot of updates on there. We, of course, have our mailing list. And as always, we love to have people reach out to us and meet the community on chat.openconceptlab.org. So I want to thank you for joining us, and maybe we can hold our questions, or feel free to put them in the chat, because I would like to give as much time as possible to our Kenyan colleagues. Kevin, Francis, would either of you like to kick us off here?
Yes, thank you very much, Joe. And hi, everyone. I'm here with 4 or 3 of my team members. And we just give a bit of background on the Kenya National Health Terminology Services and where that lies. And then I'm going to close it up by giving the technical team a chance to give the more technical information about this. So I'm just going to show you a slide here. Please confirm you can see my screen. So I'm going to skip through these slides. So this is the Kenya Digital Health Superhighway. And some of you may have seen this slide before, but this really, which is laying on the foundation of Digital Health Act of 2023, you can see among the national core digital health services, we have the Kenya National Health Terminology Service, and this is where the work that we are doing with OCL lies. And just to mention that this slide really represents what you would call the country digital health strategy for Kenya. And the work that has gone into place up to this point has been under the Technical Assistance Platform, the TAP project, which is funded by CDC headquarters. And the partners thereof is University of Nairobi, University of California, San Francisco, Regenstrief Institute, and others. So it's been a collaborative effort. And although you're going to get a chance to see the technical, bit of the Kenya National Health Terminology Service and be able to appreciate how it looks, I may want to mention that, as I said before, it's based on OCL with a custom-made front end. So when you open it, you'll see a front end that is user-friendly, that is really customized for Kenya, and you're going to see that in a minute. And the other point that I wanted to mention is that the government of Kenya has taken this very, very seriously, and they have come up with the certification framework for all point-of-care solutions that are going to be used in the country. And one of the requirements is that they have to be subscribing to the Kenya National Health Terminology Service because of transmission of data either across systems or to the national repository for further processing. So at this point, I'm just going to invite my team. I would like Gloria to just say a word, then invite Kevin to give a bit more of the technical bit. Kevin is our business analyst on this particular piece of work, and Gloria is sort of the partners coordinator for partners who have been involved in this process. And then Amos is the developer on our team. So let me stop here and invite you, Gloria, to make some comments. Gloria.
Yeah, thank you, Francis, for that introduction. Well, I know a lot of the work we've done, we draw credit from the collaboration we've had with the Ministry of Health and even the partners we've worked with. And so actually a lot of the success is attributed to that collaboration. And I know there's still a lot of work in progress, but the fact that even just saying MOH has taken sort of that leadership role in supporting terminology service is a great achievement in this journey. So I'll hand over to Kevin or Amos to just speak through the technical aspects and showcase where we are at. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe we can have Kevin, and then we can proceed on to the more technical bits under Amos. Kevin?
Thank you, Francis and Gloria, and the OCL team for having us on this call. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a journey coming up to get where we are at the moment. So I'll just let me just share a few things. So just like Francis has shared, our Kenya National Health Terminology Service is an instance of OCL. We have adopted it as the National Terminology Service for Kenya. We maintain the backend as is, but we built our own front end to enhance the user experience as per the country's needs. So that front end is based on React.js, specifically React Framework, Next.js, Material UI, CSS. And then basically for the need that was specific for Kenya, like the needs that we needed to meet for you to serve as the National Health Terminology Service. We, of course, it served most of it, like more than 90% of what we needed. But now we identified some gaps during our implementation. Like we wanted it to have role-based access, so that we could have. We had three main users that we needed to cater for. That is the basic user, a curator user at an organizational level, and an admin user. So in the Kenyan context, this is someone who, the person with the authority to either add or remove or even retire concept, just to put it lightly. And then something to manage that whole process of requesting for user accounts, approval or rejection of the requested user accounts, proposing. We also needed something to manage the proposing of addition of concepts to the concept dictionary, and then again also approval or rejection of those concepts. So, and we have already started that process of working with the community in terms of enhancements, so that we can have KNHTS be optimal for our needs. So again, on role-based access, requesting user accounts, approval, rejection of requested user accounts, proposing addition of concepts to the concept dictionary, and approval or rejection of proposed concepts. So that is, we had started working on the role-based access and how to manage user, like basically user management. So we are hoping we can also just continue working and cover the rest of the stuff that is remaining. So I'll just display the KNHTS for you guys. Just a sec so that I share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, so this is what we came up with from OCL. So, and I know for the normal OCL user, it looks different, but this is what we sat down, as a country and came up with. You can see that we have the dictionary categorized into domains. Specifically content to do with classification of diseases, Within one domain, HPT, which is health products and technologies, is in two domains, where we have pharmaceuticals and medical devices or non-farms. And the reason why we split the HPT is just to enhance the user experience. So that's a user doesn't have to, a single user doesn't have to go through very many hierarchies to get to the concept. And then we have the diagnostic services, where we have concepts for lab and imaging, health procedures, where we have concepts from the International Classification of Health Interventions, which is a WHO global standard. And then we have billing and e-claims management. We have human resources for health, health infrastructure, supply chain management, community health, and functioning disability. So some of the sources we adopted, like the content we adopted, is from global standards, specifically WHO and LOIC. And then we have others like HPT, billing and e-claims management, health infrastructure, HRH, community health, and supply chain management are country level content, like it's the content that is most relevant to the health sector of the country. And also ICF functional disability is from WHO. So we just one domain. So basically, like what is on the left side of my screen is like under the subdomains. So we have a hierarchy flow from domain to subdomains to now to the concept under that subdomain. So if you can just open one concept, this is how, like this is the concept ID. Then the rest is basically the data model of a concept, the normal data model of a concept. And then for something else like HPT, we have the country level content. Yeah, so we have what we have here is the concept ID, and then the attributes of that concept, and the relationships. So basically, we decided to have the relationships here as concepts, so that we could help the local authority, which is Pharmacy and Poisons Board, eliminate free data entry on their site. Because like we did a lot of work since there are local country level source for this domain, we want to kind of help them dictate how they will be recording this information on their site. So we ended up having these relationships also recorded as concepts, so that we eliminated that on their end. Yes, so that's it from me. I pass it over to Amos just to add on a few things that I might have left out. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Kevin. Amos, please.
Back to you, Francis. I don't have anything to add. I think we've all done the, yeah.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Joe.
All right. right. Thank you all so much. I don't think it could be understated how much work is going into the work that you're doing. Every single one of those sources in there, I'm sure, comes from, a lot of decisions that have to be made with quite a lot of stakeholders. And I know that, setting up a terminology server and putting content into it is one bucket of work, but the amount of alignment with the stakeholders in your country and around you is just, there's a lot going in there. And I just want to, give you your well-deserved flowers for all the great work. I actually just want to open it up to the audience. Are there any questions for the KNHTS team, whether it is technical, whether it is about process or about the partners, any questions? Because I think your work is exemplary, and I just want to make sure if there are questions, people have a chance to ask them. Italo, thank you. I see. Love the front end. Got to do that for Brazil. Yes, a good front end is very important. I'm sure we all know now. Is there anybody out here who is, aiming to pursue a kind of work like this, a national health data dictionary sort of thing, or a national health terminology service? Is there anybody in the audience who, even just raise your hand to say, we're thinking about this or we're doing this? Is there anybody out here that's doing that? Oh, Asif, I see in the chat. Yes, I assume that's to that question. Anybody else out there? All right. Well, we have at least a couple in the audience. I know national health data dictionaries like this are an upcoming topic that people are starting to get into. So we certainly want to make sure we embrace that as a community.
So Kevin, you may want to stop sharing your screen now. We are about to read your WhatsApp messages.
Thanks, Wes.
And Andy actually asked in the chat there, could you talk a little bit more about how you're working with Kenya EMR and their data dictionary?
Yeah. So Kenya EMR, Kevin or Amos?
Let Kevin take that.
Yeah, so what we've started by doing is one of the ways that we've started working with like KNHTS, or basically in the OpenMRS community, because I know that's where like KNHTS is OpenMRS based, is when it comes to like the specific domains. Like most recently, we had an engagement specifically for the lab domain. And one of the use cases that we picked when developing the FIRE implementation guides for lab for Kenya was for HIV and TB. And most of the contribution we got was from the partners who specifically, support KNHTS and other OpenMRS systems like AMPA. So that was covered. Most of the contribution came from that side because those systems are related for that. So when it comes to that content, like ensuring that the content that we publish, the KNHTS, we are specifically taking advantage of the experience that KNHTS has and AMPAT has, and the partners who support those like that line of systems have, to ensure that we are covering their needs in that way.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. And actually, there was one follow-up question about the plan to handle requests for missing concepts. And I think that's an interesting one. You brought that up as a potential next step for OCL in its tooling to be able to handle concept requests. Do you have any specific plans for that right now?
Yes, we do. And let me just quickly share my screen again, just to display something that I think that might have been missed. Just a sec.
I did see the message at the bottom of the screen for
Okay,
capturing that
yes.
information. I was just wondering how you were planning on actually creating those concepts, if they were missing from the dictionaries that you had posted.
Yes. So we have like that process is covered under the governance framework of how like that whole process of curation, just making sure that somebody hasn't missed that concept in terms of looking for it. Maybe they're a new user, or sometimes concept management can be a bit tricky. So there's that. First of all, getting help to find the concept. There's that whole interaction, like a chat box. And then secondly, let's say it's if it's something like an organization like WHO, we can we can create maybe a placeholder concept for depending on the agency, that concept. And then we can engage WHO to have that concept added to the dictionary. And then we had some discussions again with the Retrospective team on having Kenya be the one managing that, like having like a team assigned for Kenya that would be managing like that interaction for all the requests, because there might be people who won't come to KNHTS to use something like ICD 11, but we can now put KNHTS, the team managing KNHTS, to a level where we'll be managing those requests for guys, for all the partners with WHO. So I don't know whether I've answered your question.
You did. That's great. Thank you. That is a challenging operation, and I think it's great for your local capacity building to be able to do that. So excellent.
Right. Very great work. And we've just got a couple of minutes left. I did just want to throw it up to the community and just see, is there anything else that we haven't talked about today that you would like to talk about more? Are there any questions about the direction we're heading, or any proposed new features or things you would like to do? It's an open forum at this point, and everybody, please feel free to raise your hand and come off mute if you'd like.
Joe, just making sure you did see Asif's comments about bulk importing Bangladesh concepts.
Yes, 100%, and love doing bulk import stuff. So please feel free to send me a message on OpenMRS Slack or chat.openconceptlab.org, anywhere. We are more than happy to get into that.
Joe, maybe just one comment for the community that, so beyond this call, we do have a weekly, the OCL community hosts a weekly developer call on Tuesdays, and a weekly architecture call on Friday. And anybody is welcome to join if you're interested in participating in those discussions. And then we also are actively involved in the OpenHIE terminology services community, where the a lot of the topics that we discussed today and like the work that Kenya, Brazil, others are doing are discussed there. And we're also talking a lot about the development of the National Health Data Dictionary Framework. So those are 3 other places where you're welcome to join if interested to continue the conversation.
All right, last 2 minutes. I see a lot of congratulations and things going on in the chat. Well deserved once again. If there are no other questions, then we can go ahead and close out our showcase today. And thank you so much to everybody who participated and everybody who asked questions. And we hope to see you at our upcoming community calls and showcases. Thanks everybody for all your great work.